Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're diving into a tense turning point. Diep and James finally team up to gather proof that his powerful father secretly destroyed her niche and used her mother's surgery as leverage. Then walk into his office with a legal notice. What happens next? Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. The first proof didn't come from a lawyer or a computer screen or some dramatic confession. It came from a trash can. James stood in the lobby of his father's office building, heart pounding so loud it almost drowned out the elevator music. Beside him, Diep tried to look like any ordinary visitor. Plain shirt, tied back hair, a folder clasped to her chest. Only her eyes betrayed how tightly wound she was. "You're sure about this?" she murmured. "No," he answered honestly. "But I'm sure about you. That'll have to be enough." They stepped into the elevator together. As the doors slid shut, two men in company badges glanced at James's bruised face, recognized the boss's son, and immediately looked away. The plan was simple on paper. James would walk in like he had a right to be there, because he did. Diep would stay close, not as a lover or enemy, but as someone consulting on a project. They'd ask questions, look at what they could, copy what they dared. They weren't thieves. They were hunting for the truth in a place that had tried very hard to hide it. But simple plans have a way of turning messy when feelings get involved. On the executive floor, the air was cooler, the carpet softer. James's father wasn't there yet. His assistant said he was off-site and might not be back until afternoon. The assistant smiled at Diep like she was a puzzle that didn't fit on the desk. "Mr. Than said you'd stop by," the woman told James. "He asked me to give you these." She handed over a slim folder. "Company policies, assistance programs. He said you'd been confused." Confused. The word made Diep's jaw tighten. "Is it okay if we look through them here?" James asked, forcing a polite smile. "I don't want to lose anything on the way home." "Of course," the assistant replied. "If you need the archive room, just let me know. We've already filed the hospital assistance contract there." Her eyes flicked too quickly to Diep on the word hospital. It was subtle, but Diep caught it. "We might," Diep said lightly. "I'm interested in how these things work. I've never seen a corporate assistance program from the inside before." "Oh, it's very generous," the assistant said automatically, like she'd read it off a brochure. "We support many cases." "And do they all come with conditions?" Diep asked, tone still casual. The woman hesitated, just a flicker. Then she looked down at her keyboard. "I don't handle the legal side," she said. "I just type what they give me." There it was again, that quiet complicity. The small, tired lies that kept the big ones in place. James opened the folder on a side table. Inside were glossy sheets about the company's community outreach, photos of donated school supplies, scholarship recipients, charity events. On the last page, in fine print, a line made him freeze. "All special assistance is subject to internal review and may be withdrawn in cases of conduct that negatively impacts corporate reputation." His father's favorite little phrase again, corporate reputation, used like a leash. "Does it help?" Diep asked softly, reading over his shoulder. "It helps me hate this paper," he said. "We need something more than brochures." That's when they saw it. Near the receptionist's desk stood a tall, silver trash can. On top of the pile inside, visible through the open lid, lay a crumpled draft. Someone had missed the shredder. The header was clear. Internal memo, confidential subject. Market rationalization and employee conduct. James glanced at the assistant. She was on the phone now, back turned, jotting down numbers. He walked casually over, bent down as if retying his shoe, and slipped the draft out before his courage could evaporate. Diep's heart nearly stopped. They ducked into a side corridor, flattening the paper against the wall. At the top, in that unmistakable tidy handwriting, was his father's note. A line narrative: stall closure due to policy, not personal connection. Emphasize performance concerns if questioned. Below, typed, regarding employee James Thun and associated beneficiary Lai Tu Diep. Market stall closure to be processed under rationalization category. Verbal guidance to local partners to avoid further contracts with beneficiary. If questioned, respond. Company does not interfere in personal matters. Hospital assistance to be presented as separate act of goodwill, contingent on employees' future alignment with corporate expectations. Diep's hands shook so badly, she had to press them flat against the page. Her name was right there, not as a human being, not as a woman James loved, as associated beneficiary. Avoid further contracts, she read, voice thin. He told people not to work with me, then pretended it was the market. James felt something hot and ugly rise in his chest. Not just anger, betrayal. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't his father overreacting in a moment of fear. It was a strategy. Personal matters, he said bitterly. He designed the wound and then wrote a memo on how to pretend it was an accident. Footsteps echoed down the hall. They folded the paper fast and tucked it into Diep's folder. A middle manager walked by, nodding politely. Smile, James whispered. We're just two perfectly normal people having a perfectly normal morning. Her lips twitched. My heart didn't get that memo. Back at Diep's apartment, they spread everything across the table. The hospital contract, the district notice, photos of the red stamps, and now the internal memo. Nye sat at the far corner coloring, occasionally glancing up with the serious attention of a child who understands more than adults think. So, now we have proof, Diep said. Not just feelings. He ordered people to shut me out. He lied about not interfering. He tied the assistants to your obedience. It's all here. James stared at the pages like they were pieces of a puzzle he'd been trying not to see his whole life. My father always told me, he said slowly, a man must be decisive. If something stands in your way, you remove it. Don't apologize for doing what needs to be done. I thought he meant competition, corrupt partners, people who actually hurt us. I didn't understand he'd use that same philosophy on my life. On you. Diep watched him, torn between wanting to comfort him and wanting to shake him awake faster. So what now? She asked gently. We have proof, but proof without a plan is just heavy paper. He gave a tight, humorless smile. That's the Lai Tu Diep I know, he said. Already thinking 2 steps ahead. She shrugged. Dude, I had to live 2 steps ahead of your father, just to keep from going under. Practice. He sobered. We can do a few things, he began, ticking them off. 1, we talk to a lawyer with all of this. Not just the hospital contract. We show them how it's connected. 2, we quietly visit the people mentioned in this memo. Local partners and verbal guidance. Cafe owners. The market manager. If they're willing to admit someone leaned on them, it's not just our word against his. And 3, she prompted. He met her eyes. 3, we decide how public we're willing to go if we have to. Because once we pull this thread, he won't just get mad in a hallway, he'll fight. The question is, do we fight back in whispers or in daylight? The thought made her stomach lurch. Women like her didn't take on men like him in public. They learned to survive around them, to shrink, to adjust, to call it fate when it was actually someone else's choices. Daylight is dangerous, she admitted. He has money, reputation, friends in all the right places. People will say we're ungrateful, that we're trying to embarrass him after he helped my mother. I know, James said. But shadows are dangerous too. We've already seen what he does when no one's looking. Silence settled between them, thick but not empty. This was what high-level character psychology really looked like. Not melodramatic shouting, but two people sitting at a kitchen table with their lives and families laid out on cheap laminate, trying to decide what they could live with. James, she said at last, voice low. If we do this, there might be no going back. To his house, to his company, to being just his son. Are you ready for that? He looked at Diep, bent over her drawing, tongue tucked between her teeth in concentration. He thought of Diep's mother, fighting her way back from surgery. He thought of the boy he'd been, watching his father sign deals and thinking power meant never having to say sorry. No, he said honestly. I'm not ready. But I'm more afraid of becoming a man who sees this. He tapped the memo. And chooses silence. Diep let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. In that moment, through all the fear and the fury, she loved him more fiercely than she had on any quiet, happy day. Okay, she said. Then today, we gather. Tomorrow, we decide where to take it. He nodded. First stop? She picked up the memo and tapped the line about local partners. The market, she said. If your father used their mouths to hurt me, I want to hear from their mouths what he said. Diep looked up. Are we going on a mission? She asked, eyes bright. Diep smiled despite everything. Yes, she said. A very important mission. James stood, folding the papers back into the folder, a new steadiness in his posture. He was still his father's son. But for the first time, he was choosing to be more than that. And somewhere, in an air-conditioned office with dark wood and closed curtains, a man who thought he controlled every move had no idea that two people with a used folder and a kitchen table were quietly preparing to challenge the story he'd written for them. Let's go, James said. The real fight hadn't started yet, but the truth finally had a voice. And it was no longer whispering. The market wasn't the same place it used to be. Once, when Diep pushed her cart down this lane, people waved her over, calling her name, asking if she had any extra cakes, if Diep was singing that funny song again. Today, half the faces turned away the moment they saw her. James felt it too. The air was thicker here. Not just with cooking smoke, but with shame. Not hers. Everyone else's. Remember, he murmured, walking beside her. We're here to listen, not fight. Not yet. She nodded, clutching the folder a little tighter. The first stop was the manager's stall, really just a plastic desk under a faded umbrella. But everyone knew this man's signature could make or break a day's income. He looked up, startled, when their shadows fell across his ledger. Miss Diep, he said, forcing a smile. I heard about your mother. I'm glad the surgery went well. Thank you, Diep replied, polite but not warm. We actually came to talk about something else. His gaze flicked to James, then to the folder. His throat bobbed. Do you remember the memo about closing my stall? She asked. The guidance from above? Ah, that. He shifted in his plastic chair. You know how it is. Policies change. We have to follow district recommendations. It's not personal. James pulled out a folded copy of the internal memo and laid it on the table. The section about local partners highlighted. "Is this the district?" he asked quietly. "Because it looks a lot like my father's company." The manager stared at the page as if it might bite. "Where did you get this?" "From a trash can," Diep said. "From your office building, with my name on it." He deflated, the way a balloon gives up when the air leaks out too fast. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. Then he looked around, making sure no one was close enough to hear, and lowered his voice. "Your boyfriend's father called," he admitted. "More than once. The first time he was polite, said the market was being restructured, that some stalls would go. He suggested yours, said it would help his son focus." "And the second time?" James asked, his tone careful. The manager winced. "He said if I didn't cooperate, I could expect some inspections, licenses reviewed. You know the rest." "I have kids, Miss Lai. This stall feeds 3 generations. I told myself you were strong, that you'd manage, that maybe he'd find you another place later." Diep's chest tightened. "You told yourself a story so you could sleep," she said softly. He flinched again. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never meant to hurt you. But men like him, they don't just threaten. They follow through." James swallowed hard. If someone from the district or the court asked you who called, what was said, would you tell them? The man's eyes filled with fear. "You're going to drag me into this?" "You already are in it," Diep said. "I'm just asking whether you'd tell the truth." He stared at his own hands for a long moment. Then he nodded once, like a man signing a contract with himself. "If I'm asked officially," he said, "I won't lie. Not anymore." It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was something. One more crack in the wall. The cafe owner was easier. He saw them coming and wiped his hands on his apron nervously. "I knew this would come back one day," he muttered, leading them to a quiet corner. "I remember when that man came," he said without prompting. "Nice watch, company car. Asked me if I sold your cakes. I said yes." He smiled and said, "For now." "Did he threaten you?" Diep asked. "He didn't have to." The owner shrugged. "He just mentioned how much we owed the bank for the renovation, how he knew the loan officer, how inspections could be stressful for small businesses." He met her eyes. "I have 2 kids about Nai's age. I panicked. I told him I'd stop buying. I'm not proud of it." James rubbed his forehead. "Would you be willing to say that, if someone official asked?" The man nodded immediately. "Yes, I can't undo what I did. But I can stop pretending it was just my choice." Piece by piece, the pattern emerged. A supplier who admitted he'd gotten a call warning him that working with certain people might put him last on the delivery list. A neighbor who quietly confessed she'd been told Diep's food might not be safe, but never checked for herself. Each interaction was a small cut in her trust, and each apology reopened an old wound. By late afternoon, the folder was thicker, not with new documents, but with names, dates, details. A web of quiet pressure, all leading back to the same man. James watched Diep's face as they walked home. She wasn't triumphant. She wasn't even angry in the way he expected. She looked tired, like someone who'd finally confirmed a suspicion she'd hoped was wrong. "Say something," he asked gently. "I'm thinking about all the times I blamed myself," she said. "Maybe the cakes weren't good enough. Maybe I was too slow, not friendly enough. Maybe I should smile more, give more discounts. Women always make it our fault first, you know?" It's easier than thinking someone else chose to hurt us. He reached for her hand. It was never your fault. She squeezed back, eyes glistening. I know that here. She touched her temple. But I'm still trying to convince this part. She pressed a hand over her heart. That evening, Aunt Hoa's cousin arrived. A woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense haircut and a lawyer's bag that had seen plenty of battles. Call me Huang, she said, sitting at their small table like she'd sat at hundreds just like it. I've heard the headline. Show me the evidence. They did. The hospital contract, the district notice, the internal memo, the list of names and what each person had confessed. Huang's face stayed steady, but her eyes sharpened with each page. When she was done, she tapped the stack with one finger. This is not small, she said. This is not a bad mood or a misunderstanding. This is a coordinated attempt to damage someone's livelihood and control an employee's personal life. It walks very close to abuse of power, coercion, and interference with civil rights. So we can sue? James asked. You could, she replied. But court is long, public, costly. He has money to drag things out, and he'll fight dirty, not just in legal filings but in the court of public opinion. He'll tell anyone who will listen that you're attacking the man who saved your mother's life. Diep winced. That's what worries me. Huang nodded. So we think strategy, not revenge. Paper is power. Right now, his is stamped and official. Yours is just starting. I'd suggest 3 steps. They leaned in. First, Huang said, we formalize your side. Written statements from the market manager, the cafe owner, the supplier, anyone willing to put their name to what he did. Those can be notarized. Even 1 or 2 is a start. Second, we send a legal notice to his company. Not aggressive, just firm. We state that you are aware of the interference. You consider the conditions in the hospital contract coercive, and you request 2 things. That the loan be converted to a clean grant with no personal conditions, and that all employees cease interfering in your business and relationships. And if he ignores it? James asked. Huang smiled thinly. Then we have a paper trail showing you tried to resolve this quietly. Courts like that. Journalists like that too, in case we ever go that route. Diep swallowed. And third? Third, Huang said. You decide your boundary. No contract can force you to stop loving someone, but it can make your life miserable if you let fear drive you. You need to be clear. Between you, what you're willing to risk. I can fight for you on paper, but in the real world, you're the ones who have to stand there when he glares. James glanced at Diep. We already decided one thing, he said. We're not breaking up because he tells us to. Huang nodded. Good. Then the rest is tactics. I'll draft the notice tonight. You can take it to him yourself, or I can send it officially. Either way, when he realizes you're not scared of his paper, he'll show his real face. Be ready for that. After she left, the apartment felt different. Not safer exactly, but less alone. She's right, Diep said slowly. This isn't just a family argument anymore. It's a line. James looked at the folder, now containing not just his father's documents, but their own first attempts at fighting back. Tomorrow, he said, we deliver that notice. And if he tears it up? She asked. Then we know exactly who we're dealing with, he answered. And we stop hoping he'll change just because we want him to. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she stepped into his arms, resting her forehead against his chest. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I. he whispered into her hair. "But I'd be more scared if we kept pretending this was normal." From the bedroom, Nye's small voice drifted out. "Miss Diep? Uncle James? Are you fighting or hugging?" "Hugging," they both answered at once, laughter catching at the edges of their fear. That night, sleep came in pieces. Diep dreamed of red stamps chasing her down narrow alleys. James dreamed of boardrooms full of faceless men turning their chairs away from him. But between the nightmares were flashes of something else. Nye laughing, Diep's mother scolding them both for looking too serious. A tiny house where the biggest argument was about whose turn it was to wash the dishes. Morning arrived whether they were ready or not. James put on his cleanest shirt. Diep slipped the legal notice into a plain envelope. They walked out together, leaving the kettle on low for Aunt Hoa, who'd promised to sit with Diep's mother and watch Nye. At the base of his father's office building, James stopped and looked up at the glass and steel that had once symbolized safety and success to him. "You know," he said quietly, "there was a time I thought my whole life would happen in here." "And now?" Diep asked. "Now I think my real life is out there," he said, nodding toward the crowded, noisy streets. "But we have to pass through here to get to it." They stepped into the lobby, shoulder to shoulder, the envelope between them like a small, fragile shield. Somewhere upstairs, a man who believed he could control everything had no idea a thin packet of paper and two determined hearts were about to knock on his door. Would he laugh? Would he roar? Would he finally reveal how far he was willing to go to keep his son in line? And whether James was truly ready to step out of that line? For now, no one knew. The elevator doors slid shut on their reflections. A bruised man, a tired woman, and a choice that could change all of their lives, waiting just a few floors above. James and Lee Tu Diep stop blaming bad luck and start looking for proof. At his father's company, they find a crumpled internal memo in the trash that spells everything out. Orders to close Diep's market stall, warn partners not to work with her, and present the hospital payment as goodwill tied to James's obedience. They confront the market manager, cafe owner, and supplier. Each quietly admits they were pressured by James's father. With their testimonies and documents gathered, they meet lawyer Huang, who explains the contract is legal but coercive, and helps them draft a formal notice demanding the surgery loan be converted to a clean grant and all interference stop. Knowing this could cost James his job, inheritance, and family standing, they still decide to deliver the notice together, walking into his father's building side by side, ready to face whatever explosion comes next.